Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert and welcome to prediction season. Our 8th year of predictions here at the Gridiron Expert starts right now, today. And we're switching things up a little bit, kicking it off with the ACC, and no better team to start with than the reigning ACC champions in the Florida State Seminoles. In Florida State, 2023 is going to go down as a major what-if season for this program. Major what-if season for all of college football, but certainly for Florida State, who ran the table, went undefeated, won the conference, was 13-0, but still got left out of the college football playoff because their star quarterback, Jordan Travis, got injured. So what if Jordan Travis hadn't have gotten hurt? What could have been for Florida State? Instead, because they were left out of the playoff, the Seminoles were relegated to the Orange Bowl, where with a skeleton crew of a team, they lost 63-3 to Georgia. But the playoff has now expanded to 12 teams. The Seminoles are once again loaded on both sides of the ball, and there's a very good chance they can get to the college football playoff this year like they deserved to be last year. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today as we start our prediction season, predicting every single college football team right here on the channel, which is why you need to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos we have coming to your channel. Again, every single team right here. We're the only channel that's going to do that. So make sure to check it all out. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that bell. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for our newsletter and sign up for our expert picks. If you sign up for that expert picks combo, you're going to get access to an exclusive betting newsletter. And those expert picks, guys, are some of the best picks in the entire country, hitting over 62% of our bets last season. We have beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 seasons. We're going to do that again this year, and it's one of the lowest prices and lowest offers in the entire country. So do not miss out on that. Sign up for those today for all that exclusive content. And also check out our mailing address. Send us some of your team's gear. We don't have any Florida State gear up here. We'd love to represent your team in every single video, just like we've done for all these teams behind us now. Check it out. Become a member of our GE Nation. We promise you're going to want to be a part of it because it's going to be one special season here at our channel. So you take a look at Florida State, guys. A lot of question marks in the offseason, like right after the season ended, but they kind of got answered as we progressed through, right? The quarterback question was resolved relatively quickly. DJ Uiagalelei now going to be the starter for Florida State, taking over for Jordan Travis. Uiagalelei obviously began his career at Clemson. Last year played at Oregon State, where he threw for over 2,600 yards and 21 touchdowns. He's a veteran. He might not be the best quarterback in the country, not going to be the best quarterback in the ACC, but he is a good quarterback. And he's a veteran, and he knows how to play the game, and he will play well and fit well in Mike Norvell's system. Roydell Williams is in at running back from Alabama. They also have Lawrence Toafili, who rushed over 460 yards last year. They do lose their top 3 pass catchers on offense, but do add Malik Benson from Alabama. They add Jalen Brown in from LSU. They return Ja'Kai Douglas. They return their tight end and Kyle Morlock. And they've got a pretty solid offensive line as well. This is a Florida State team, guys, that you look at who they lost. They lost Travis. They lost those pass catchers. They lose so much, and everybody's panicking. But when you really break it down, this is still an offense that, yes, isn't going to be as good as it was last year, but it's still going to be just fine. And the same can certainly be said for the defense. 5 starters back on that side of the ball. DJ Lundy leading the way at the linebacking core. He's the anchor of this defense this year, but the defensive line is really, really good. Joshua Farmer is back. 5 sacks last year. Patrick Payton, 7 sacks last year. The secondary only gave up 180 passing yards per game last year. In returns, Fentrell Cypress and Shaheem Brown. This is a team, guys, that defensively, it might be the strength of the team, and that's saying something considering the offense is still going to be pretty dang good. So a loaded Florida State team, guys, with a favorable schedule and an expanded playoff. Things are looking up for Mike Norvell's squad. You take a look at their schedule. They open the year in week 0 in Ireland against Georgia Tech. So talking about a way to kick off the college football season. The eyes of the United States and the eyes of Ireland will be on this game, a conference matchup between the Seminoles and the Yellow Jackets. And Georgia Tech is a team that really you shouldn't overlook. This is a game that I think is going to be a lot closer than people realize. Last year, Brent Key leads Georgia Tech to a bowl game, wins their bowl game over UCF, so they're 7-6 from 2023. 8 starters are back on the offensive side of the ball for Georgia Tech, but it's their defense that could hold them back. Georgia Tech gave up over 430 yards per game and over 220 rushing yards per game. I think Florida State has a significant advantage in the trenches. They've got a better offensive line. They certainly have a better defensive line. They can wear down Georgia Tech as this game goes on, but the Yellow Jackets will test Florida State's defense. And do not be surprised if this game is close in the fourth quarter, but Florida State ultimately does win in Ireland to get to 1-0. They come back home Labor Day Monday. So week 0 and then Labor Day Monday play Boston College at home. It's going to be a fun one there. Last year was only a 31-29 victory for Florida State. Kind of sleptwalk after they jumped out to a big lead. They allowed the Eagles to crawl back into it, make things very interesting. They gave up over 450 yards to Boston College. The Eagles now return 17 starters, have a brand new coach in Bill O'Brien, the former Penn State and Houston Texans head coach, New England Patriots offensive coordinator as well. But this is a BC team that I think maybe can get to a bowl game and does have a lot of talent offensively, but once again, still have a couple question marks defensively, and the home opener for Florida State in Tallahassee. It's a very difficult place to play. Boston College, their first game of the year under a new coach. All these changes, it's not going to go their way. Florida State wins that one. They're 2-0. They come out of the bye week. I think they win their next two over Memphis and California. They cannot afford to overlook either, but both those games at home, Memphis, an elite offense led by Seth Hennigan, one of the best quarterbacks in the group of 5 this year, averaged 306 passing yards per game last year. The defense, though, once again, going to be Memphis's downfall if they can't figure it out. California, kind of the same thing here, although this will be California's first game in the ACC, so a pretty special moment there. California, first game in the ACC, they've got to travel across the country to Tallahassee against the reigning ACC champions. California, this is their best team in a while. Best team in years when it comes to experience and just talent as a whole. But Florida State still owns the significant advantage. This is the California team that lost quite a bit in the secondary. Could be that breakout game for DJ Uyunglele. I'm not saying he's going to struggle early on, but this could be the game where he finally lights it up, gets some swagger back, figures out his mojo, and then it's off the races after that. And you're going to need it, right? Florida State's going to need him to figure some things out because sitting at 4-0, they go on the road to SMU to conclude the month of September. This is going to be a very, very interesting game. A potential battle of the unbeatens, a potential top 25 matchup down in Dallas. This is an interesting game, too, because this is the third ACC game of the year for Florida State. Very experienced at this point in conference play. This is going to be the first ever ACC game for SMU. So 3 conference games already for Florida State. First ever ACC game for SMU, and they get to host the reigning champions. I mean, talk about an opportunity for Rhett Lashley's squad. Great, great opportunity for the Mustangs. This is an SMU team that, kind of like Georgia Tech, I think can hold their own against Florida State. SMU is loaded offensively. They return their quarterback in Preston Stone, some elite pass catchers, Jalen Knighton back at running back, and an offensive line that does bring in a lot of transfers from the Power 4 level. Then if they can kind of gel quickly, might be able to hold their own in the trenches. But ultimately, while I think they might be able to hold their own, they're not going to be able to have enough to beat Florida State. Experience of the Seminoles, the size of the Seminoles is ultimately what is the difference maker in this game. SMU throws everything they've got at Florida State, trying to pull off a massive upset. They're unable to do it. The Seminoles survive a scare in Dallas because SMU guys are going to be sneaky good in their first year in this conference. They win this game. They are 5-0. It's like they haven't even missed a beat. Who's Jordan Travis? Who's Keon Coleman? We don't know those guys. The Seminoles are still rolling, maybe in the top 10 at this point. Then you've got Clemson. Those 2 games there, back-to-back, SMU and Clemson are going to be massive. Can't afford to drop either of those, and both of them are very losable games. We think they're going to beat SMU, but then they host the Tigers. Last year, we saw Florida State win a thriller over Clemson in Death Valley, beat them 31-24 in overtime. It was that big 56-yard fumble return for a touchdown that kind of changed the direction of that game and helped will the Seminoles to a victory. That defense held Clemson to 289 yards. They had 2 sacks and that fumble return, as we just mentioned. Also should add, this is the DJ Uyunglele reunion game. Uyunglele used to play for Clemson, now playing for Florida State. He gets to host his former team. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to pick Florida State to win this game. I've got the Seminoles beating Clemson. And Clemson's a good team, guys. I mean, to me, it's 1A and 1B this year in the ACC between Clemson and Florida State. But I like the Seminoles at home. These are 2 teams I think are very, very similar. They stack up very well against each other, but home field advantage is going to be the tipping point for me. Florida State owns that, and I still am not fully sold on Clemson's offense. They've got a lot coming back. Cade Klubnik's back, Garrett Riley's back, Phil Maffa's back, but can Cade Klubnik come into this environment and deliver a win against this Florida State defense? I'm going to say no. Florida State wins a massive game. Massive when it comes to the playoff, massive when it comes to the ACC standings. They win a massive game over Clemson, head into their second bye week at a perfect 6-0. Then it's the home stretch. They will cruise past Duke. They are 7-0. Nothing really to talk about there. They beat them 38-20 last year. Florida State 22-0 all time against the Blue Devils. They'll win that game. Then Miami. Big game against the Hurricanes. Miami is a team that every year we seem to hype up, and they always fall short of the expectations. Is that going to happen this year? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But the one thing they are going to do is beat Florida State. Florida State takes their first loss to Miami. And I'm not basing that off a home field advantage. Miami really doesn't have a home field advantage. I'm basing that off the fact that I think Miami is going to be pretty dang salty this year. They had Cam Ward, the transfer quarterback, in from Washington State. They had Damian Martinez, the transfer running back, in from Oregon State. They've got a 1,000-yard wide receiver in Xavier Restrepo. And they've finally got a defense that might live up to the expectations. This is a really, really good Miami team on paper. And I do think it's going to start to translate to more success on the field. Mario Cristobal is not a bad coach. He's made some stupid blunders now and then, but the coaching's going to get there. I think it gets there this year. Miami ultimately has a little too much. They're pumped. They're hyped for this game. This game was close last year, 27-20. Florida State win, a little bit closer than people expected. Miami's going to be better, in theory, this year than they were last year. The Hurricanes get a win over their rival and maybe start to create a little bit of chaos at the top of the ACC standings. Clemson's going to be up there. Florida State's up there. Maybe Miami's up there. And it's going to be huge when it's all said and done by the end of the season. But give me the Hurricanes to pull off the upset. They come back home to take on North Carolina to kick off the month of November. Florida State will bounce back and win that game. North Carolina is not going to be as bad as people think they're going to be, but still got to figure out a lot defensively. That's one thing Florida State's got going for them. They're going to face a lot of good offensive teams. But then they're going to face a lot of teams that, while they might have good offenses, their defense has a lot of question marks. Georgia Tech is that way. Boston College is that way. North Carolina is that way. Benefits from that. The offense for Florida State isn't going to be bad where they can't hang in a shootout. They beat North Carolina at home and then go on the road to Notre Dame. If you really want to break it down, the three biggest games on Florida State's schedule are Clemson, Miami, and Notre Dame. Those are the three biggest and toughest ones, right? Two of them are conference games. Notre Dame obviously is not, but a big game when it comes to your resume, maybe in terms of getting to the college football playoff. Problem is, the Seminoles aren't winning in South Bend. You're not going on the road and beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame that returns tons defensively, one of the best defenses in the country this year. Adds Riley Leonard at quarterback, the transfer quarterback from Duke, and adds a plethora of wide receivers to help him out as well. South Bend is a very difficult place to play, as we know. Notre Dame also going to be off a bye week coming into this game. Florida State, going to be a couple weeks since they've had that week of rest. So Notre Dame is prepared. They are at home. They've got a defense that can force DJ Uiagalelei into mistakes, and they got an offense that I think will be able to score on anybody. Florida State maybe holds their own for about a half, maybe a little bit into the third quarter. Notre Dame pulls away, and the Seminoles take their second loss of the year. They're 8-2 heading into another bye week, 3 because they do get to play in week 0. They beat Charleston Southern, obviously. They're 9-2, and then back home to take on Florida. They've won 7 of the last 10 against their in-state rival. They've won 2 in a row against their in-state rival. Let's go ahead and make it 8 of the last 11 and 3 in a row over the Gators. I look at this game from a lot of different standpoints. Last year you can't look at last year for anything. Battle of the backup quarterbacks between Florida State and Florida. The Seminoles got down early, battled back, won 24-15. I look at Florida this year. They've got talent, but they've got a brutal schedule, and they've got a brutal month of November. And you can't help but wonder, if Florida struggles, what are they going to have to play for? Sure, pride. Yeah, taking down your in-state rival, great. But if they struggle in the month of November, maybe have already moved on from Billy Napier, or maybe they know there's no chance they're going to go bowling, Florida State's going to have a lot more to play for. The Seminoles are going to be motivated. They're going to be at home. And they obviously have, to me, the better talent across the board right now than the Gators do. They will beat Florida in the season finale. And Florida State, after going 13-1 last year, follows that up with another double-digit win season, 10-2, only one conference loss at our prediction, losing to Miami. It should be good enough to get them in to the ACC championship game. And if they win that, they are in the college football playoff. And even if they lose, they might have a chance at an at-large bid with it being expanded to 12 teams. The Seminoles are still the real deal. They are still a force to be reckoned with. They are the kings of the ACC until proven otherwise. Mike Norvell has his team rolling, and this team's going to be dangerous in 2024. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Our first prediction down, many more to come. All the more reason to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those newsletters. Sign up for those expert picks. The earlier you can do that, the better. You do not want to miss out, guys. This is the place for you if you want to win big, and we promise you, you will win big. So check out all of that once again. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.